Um, so Mansi, congratulations on a 770.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, I mean, starting from what, V27 is what it was when you took your first mock?
So I started my first mock score.
Yes.
So I started with, I think, GMAT Prep 1 and I scored like 710. The second one was 700. The third one was 730. The fourth and fifth, both were 680. I'll tell you the reason why. And the sixth one was 770.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So what caused these jumps in?
Okay.
Yes.
So 710, 700, 730, the first three one, they were pretty, proportional to the kind of preparation I was doing.
Okay.
And then my friends in my kind of jamboree where I was taking classroom classes, they recommended me that I should take the mock test at the center so that I could simulate the center condition.
That's when the score went down.
Yes, and there was a lot of disturbance, especially because I just got time on weekends and Saturday, Sunday, center was really busy. And they did not just isolate the ones that were supposed to give mock test. So so basically what happened was, especially in verbal, I used to waste a lot of time because of the disturbance, and then the pressure started building up towards the end. I also missed a lot of questions. That's how the scores dropped. But then the last one I decided, I sat and finally thought, what are the reasons that my scores are dropping? Is it the preparation? Is it because I'm giving at the center, or is it because something else? So then I decided to counter that. Last one, I'll sit at home, isolate myself, and then give the test.
Okay.
And another way it helped was that I also thought it might be that my preparation is not that well, so I put in all the effort I could, and probably that's another reason that my score was up.
Yes, I can. That definitely happens to us as humans, where we say, "Hey, I was expecting higher. I'm not doing as well. Let me double down on things that I know." And yes, it was very interesting. On Friday, I was talking to one of our students. He basically said, and this guy scored a 740, Q50 V40, and if you listen to his interview, he had gone through the worst with regards to taking the test. I mean, his test was postponed twice. He was
annoyed. I read his blog over the GMAT Club. I just read it today.
Okay.
And yes, they call the center people call and said
yes.
schedule and reschedule.
Yes. Even when he rescheduled, he realized that the center was moved out already, so he had to go to a different location and all of that. So I talked to him, like, how come you still scored a 740? So what he told me was, he said he would take the mock test in the worst of situations. Say, when I was feeling sleepy, I would take a mock test. When it was very noisy outside, I would take a mock test. It's like I wanted to simulate the worst that could happen. And I think he said that training truly helped me get to a 740, despite the fact that on the day of the exam, I reached a center. I had 20 minutes to realize the center didn't exist there. Then I called the guys to really say, hey, where the hell is the center? And they said, it's 15 minutes away. You can just come over. But there was a traffic jam in between. So it took me an hour and a half to reach there. And yet the guy scored a 740. And then in the middle of the exam, in the quant section, he ran out of the cheat sheet, the paper on which he was supposed to do the math. He raised his hand, and they basically didn't respond to him for half the test. So half the test, his hand was raised, and he was doing the math with the hand raised, and he still managed a Q50. So
that's commendable. I didn't know that part of the story.
Yes. Yeah. So I had a similar interview with him on Friday, and in that he told me, it's like, man, you guys, you are you are a role model for people to really say how to stay cool when things don't go your way.
Totally. Well, I think I would have just freaked out. I could not have given the test that day.
Q50 V40. Despite that, I mean, imagine had the scenario had it been a regular day. I wouldn't say an ideal day, a regular day that a test taker should have. The guy should have probably could have scored a 770, 780 or so.
780 for sure. Easy.
Yes. So let's talk about your preparation, Mansi. So you started with the e-GMAT verbal course. You're an oil and gas engineer. You are offshore quite a bit. So what prompted you to take an online course?
So basically, I've always been, not always, let's say for the past 3 years, I've been wanting to think about doing an MBA.
Mm-hmm.
But the thought of going abroad, doing MBA, a commitment of 3-4 years, stuff like that always scared me. I never could give the GMAT. So this time I thought that I will not think about the MBA part. I'll just think about GMAT as a way to secure my score for the next 5 years. And I just went with the flow. And because I've always been a very studious kind of a person. I studied, I believe in self-study. So I online searched, and e-GMAT was one portal that everybody recommended, right from people online to my colleagues at office to people who had already given GMAT, like my seniors and stuff. They recommended e-GMAT. So I was kind of confident on my verbal part because I gave a mock before that. So I did not, the quant part. So I did not buy the quant part. I just bought the verbal part. And I started preparing. So with 1 month of my plan, I did SE part pretty well. But the only problem with me was because as you know, my husband has a startup in his house, and then I have a job, and then I have a family to take care of. So the discipline did not really built in me. The people coming over weekends, the people going. So then I decided that I need to have classroom classes so that I can I'm committed to those classes. I can go every week, and I can say no to all friends and family commitments over the weekend. That was just an excuse for me to escape the house.
I can imagine that. I've heard that a few times before.
Yes. So that was it helped. It also helped in a way that they gave lots of homework. So I was committed to study 2-3 hours every day. And as soon as the classes ended, that's when I decided that in 4 weeks' time, I will appear for the GMAT. But after I get a confidence in my mocks that yes, I can get a target score of 760. That was my target score ever since beginning. And then I gave my mock 1, 710, mock 2, 700, mock 3, 730. So I gave these mocks every Saturday.
Okay.
This time. So on the third week's end, when it was 730, I decided that with every week I can probably increase 10 or 20 points and reach my 760 score in about a couple of weeks. And that is when I booked my test.
Okay.
But the very next week, it fell down to 680. And then again, next week, right, 5 days before the exam, it fell to 680.
And these are all GMAT prep mocks?
All GMAT prep mocks. So one thing that I decided was that GMAT. So I used to time my practice questions. I used to take a set of 16 SC, 12 CR, 13, 14 RC. I used to club them, and I used to give myself 75 minutes and sit down and do. I did not get up from this table till it is 1 hour 15 minutes or till all the questions are completed. I used to time my stuff, but I did not believe in giving too much mocks. For one reason, I thought that I should stick to the official
material itself.
Material, yes. Because I heard a lot about Manhattan, that they're super tough and they're demoralizing and stuff like that. So for me, difficulty was not that big an issue as relevance. I wanted things that are relevant to me. And to be honest, GMAT prep was the most relevant.
It is.
Yes. So that's how I decided that only GMAT mocks. And also I did not have much time because right from tomorrow I'm traveling a lot. So I had to give it before June end. So I also did not have a lot of time for giving GMAT mocks. And so that is, that is how I decided that I'll only give GMAT mocks. And I started, preparing intensively in the last 5 days. I also bought a GMAT prep question bag, which I think really helped.
Yes,
because
it
there
is.
were most relevant questions.
Yes.
And I also revised all my mocks very well. So in a way, whenever I used to give a mock, I used to take snapshots of the wrong questions. I then used to search them on online portals like GMAT Club or Manhattan Prep or all these kind of clubs. And then I used to see the approach, the difference, how other people approached it, the difference in my approach. And I learned from their approach. And gradually it started imbibing in me. And that is how I started learning and getting a better approach. Because if you see, 80% of the questions are straightforward. But the 20% of the questions, which when you see the question, it's like, even after all this preparation, how can I not approach this question? Getting the wrong answer in the bottom two choices, it's fine. That I accepted. Okay, I did not see the probably the verb, subject verb agreement here, and that is a mistake I did. That is okay. But when I did not know how to approach the question, that is when it hit me the most, and that is how I started searching the approach for the questions. And I think revising the GMAT prep mocks over and over again helped me a lot. Also, what I did was I learned this from one of the bloggers on the internet. That, for example, in GMAT in GMAT Prep 1 and 2. After both of these are done, then re-give the GMAT Prep 2 multiple times. So that, for example, in the first attempt, I got verbal 38. So in the next attempt, I got verbal 42. And in the third attempt, I got verbal 44. That was, I could see higher level questions. And with the higher level questions, I could see a better approach to answer all those kind of questions. That is also another thing that helped me a lot.
Okay, perfect. That's good. So while we're talking about approach, so did you use the meaning-based approach for sentence correction, which was, I think, the section that you did the most from e-GMAT?
Correct. I did meaning-based approach. I think all kind of approaches in the sense that there were different kind of approaches to different kind of questions. Some had meaning-based approach, some had all kind of approach. For example, modifier approach, subject verb agreement approach, tenses. I don't have a very good example right now, but for example, in one GMAT Prep mock, there was a question which said which had one sentence is more and another sentence more so. So more needed antecedent for it to modify.
Okay.
So stuff like these, yes. I don't know how to categorize these approaches into subcategories, but yes, different approaches, yes.
Okay. All right. So so then you took the test. You had a perfect score on quant. So was GMAT quant different from what you saw in your mock tests?
Not really. I think both quant and verbal were pretty much in line with what I'd done in mocks. I will not say they were similar questions, but the similar way tricky. So GMAT questions, they're not difficult questions, but they're kind of tricky. There'll be a catch somewhere here and there, which you need to identify well in time. So I think my decision of doing only GMAT prep mocks before the GMAT kind of tuned me to the fact how GMAT would probably come.
Okay. So how much time on an average would you spend on a question that you answered incorrectly on a mock test?
In a mock test, I think I didn't analyze that part because I think it's almost the same timing for all the questions.
No, what I meant was, sorry, let me revise my question.
Okay.
You've taken a mock test, you get a score, you have certain questions that you've answered incorrectly. So to revise those, you said you revised the mock test really, really well. So during revision, for a question where you made a mistake, how much time on an average would you spend on looking at, hey, why did you make a mistake? And so on and so forth.
Okay, that's a good question. So let's say I did this mock and I got 10 wrong questions with verbal.
Yes.
So I would actually spend 2 hours studying that 10 questions.
Studying those 10 questions itself, okay.
Studying those 10 questions, yes. And seeing different approaches, that what are the other approaches that people are actually applying for it. Because even if you see online, there are multiple approaches. Some people say something, people say something. And then I assimilate all those things. I used to write down all 3 approaches, which I probably liked. And then after a while, let's say after a couple of days, I used to take another print of those questions and then solve it myself and then see what kind of approach I have, I'm taking right now, what comes natural to me, and stuff like that.
Okay. So now before the exam, did you take a break? Did you take any vacation or holidays from work, or were you just working full time prior to that?
No, I think we did not just get any time for a break, though we wanted to because I was really tensed, and at the same time my husband started was going really busy, but we just could not afford a break. Right before the exam, I think we took a break like 3 months back, but not right before the exam.
Okay. And so while you were studying for it, you said you took the class from Jamboree because it provided a place where you could go and study. This also meant that a lot of time off from family, right?
Correct.
So how did you? I mean, what was it like when you were not doing things with them that you used to do with them? So what was it like for you? What was it like for them? And how did you guys come to an understanding that this is how it's going to be for the next 3 months? I mean, what kind of a conversation did you guys have?
So honestly, my family has been very supportive, especially my husband. And I think we did not really need a conversation for it, but it was a very mutual understanding. So as you see, my husband has been at the start of the past 2 years. So I have been kind of supporting him in the past. So this is a very mutual understanding. So I'm supportive for his career as much as I can. At the same time, he is supportive for my career as much as he can. But yes, there were instances when I had to miss certain family functions. In fact, his birthday also fell like a couple of months back, and we did not have a massive celebration as always we did. We just had a small family celebration. So there were things that we had to compromise on, especially timing. There were some days that we just talked like 10 minutes a day, and but I think more or less it was a very I will not say it was a difficult phase, but yes, there was a lot of understanding involving both the ends.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's so you did so I think that's good that because so you had this mutual understanding because a lot of people really have to do this as a milestone in their GMAT
Correct.
preparation where you have to really say, okay, I'm gonna make sure the other person understands if it's husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, that that uh,
Correct.
that hey, these are things that I used to do but I would not be doing anymore, and because
Yeah.
otherwise that if the expectation is there and you're unable to fulfill the same, it leads to unpleasantness, and it's very difficult to study for the GMAT if you're mentally
Mhm.
not at peace.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I totally agree. I think I was lucky in that way that we share a very kind of understanding
What
bond.
about your family? You said you had to miss a few family functions as well. So
So yes, my family. So as you know, I've always been like that. I've been very studious, and I have never compromised my
so they're
studies.
used to your
Uh,
missing function. Then they
yes.
say, okay, she's not going to come. Doesn't matter. She's not. She's a gone case anyway.
She's gone case anyway.
Yes,
Though my husband's family was a little offended in some cases, but I think I will make it up now. But I'm just going for a couple of functions and I'll kind of compensate now.
mm.
So I think that you need to have to compromise something to get something
You do,
else.
you do, and success requires a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice, and these are small sacrifices. So
Small sacrifice. And as long as my husband and my immediate family is not offended,
mm,
nothing else matters, to be honest, you know.
that is true. And even when I think if you can prepare them well in advance, they would not be offended. I mean, that's something
Probably right.
which is
Probably right.
yeah. So what's next for you now?
So yes, that's a very, very good question. So as I told you earlier that I kind of mentally prepared myself that I will not think about MBA right
Mm,
till the time I get my GMAT score,
mm,
because that is one big question that scared me all this while. You know, spending two,
mm,
3 years away from India, spending 2, 3 years away from my family.
mm,
So now to be honest, I have no clue what to do. I know I need to do an MBA. I know that I can do much better than what I'm currently doing in my role and in my current job.
mhm.
But exactly where I picture myself after doing MBA, I do not have a very good clue on that.
You're in a very, for lack of a better, I would say, tricky situation with your husband's startup in Delhi, and I don't know if
Yes.
he can move with you to US or Europe or Singapore if you chose that.
So honestly, we haven't figured out that. And after my GMAT score, now he's getting a little impatient about me leaving for
Mm.
2 years, and he's been, constantly saying me that, we
It,
did
it
have a
it
one-year
won't just be
relationship.
2 years. That's the point, right? It would be
Exactly,
longer.
exactly.
It would be longer because if you
It
go
will be longer.
abroad, you will take loans up, and essentially
Yeah.
means you'd have to work there to pay some of those loans back. Unless of
Agreed.
course a startup becomes super big and says, "Don't worry, I'm paying for that," and you come back and
I wish.
I, oh, you could.
But
I mean, he's in a very interesting space. So, but I mean,
no, but after spending 2 years there, after doing my MBA, after having all those kind of credentials, I would also want to have a little more international exposure. So, and at the same time, I think my husband might be able to, if not really move with me, but spend a lot of time there because 80% of his market is US, and he's trying to penetrate the market as much as we can.
okay.
So, probably we can manage that part. If not
Mm.
now, maybe 1 year down the line or a couple of years down the line, we'll figure it out that way.
So, what's the confusion then?
So my confusion is, to be honest, very much in my career perspective, in the sense why MBA. I'm still trying to figure. I'm still not able to figure myself the answer to this question why MBA.
So, when we sent this questionnaire to you, you said why, and we said, I think I could be doing a lot more with my job than what I'm doing. I think my potential is not being fully utilized. So, would you?
Yeah.
The key thing you have to ask yourself is, hey, why do you have that feeling? Where do you have that?
Okay.
I mean, there's a reason why that feeling comes. I mean, one of this could be you're completely for lack of a better word, you find, okay, 20% of the time you're doing something which you'd like to do all the time, and 80% of the time you're doing things which you don't like to do all the time. So that's one thing you really say, I think I'm not doing enough interesting stuff. Or you really say, I think I can do these other things, but the organization structure that I am in doesn't allow me to, or I'm unable to make my point across, put my point across to be able to sell those ideas that I have yeah, within the company.
So it's more of the second reason that you said that. So it's not that I don't like what I'm doing right now. I love my job, but it's like the hundred of other engineers with me from various other colleges who do the same thing again. I'm able to contribute much more other things. For example, I got this new technology which saved us a lot of money in our operations. I kind of optimize our operations in a way which again saved us a lot of money. So I can add a lot of other things into my job which contributes much more to the company, and the company recognizes it as well. But then again, I think that I could probably do this at a much larger scale as well. Right now,
it's a very good reason to do an MBA, by the way. That is the perfect reason to do an MBA.
Okay.
It is. I mean, here's the point, right? You as a resource or a potential, and to do much larger things, you basically need to communicate what you are able to do in a language which is succinct, with the relevant information to the right stakeholders. That's something that unfortunately engineering colleges, even as good as IITs in India, don't teach you.
Correct.
Okay, and that's a very important thing for you to know. Okay, that's one piece. The second thing is, you may think you can do all these amazing things, but are those things even relevant to the stakeholders who are going to fund this thing? Right. So to understand what's relevant to them versus what's not relevant to them. I mean, this as a classic example, you're in the oil and gas world, right? In the oil and gas world, the refining segment right now is the one which is probably not getting a ton of investment today. Why? Because hey, refinery operations are considered to be a cost center in some way. It's the extraction and exploration and operations. Those are considered to be a profit center, right?
Correct.
If refinery is not a place where you're going to get capital projects funded, and if you really say, I'm going to fund capital projects because I'm going to enhance capacity of a refinery, you're not going to get funding over there. Why? Because there's already enough capacity with it might not be there in the refinery that you're working in, but across there is already enough refining capacity. If on the other hand, for refining, you can really say, hey, I can reduce the cost per barrel of processing crude by let's say these 4% or so, that's a huge profit margin for a refiner.
Right.
So how do you understand what the stakeholder cares about, and position? And that's a skill that you need to learn, and an MBA will teach you through the exercises.
Agreed. So because my profile is more technical, all my suggestions are tend to be more on the technical side.
Yes.
But as you correctly said, getting into the stakeholders' mind is much more important as well.
Yes.
That way it's right.
Yeah. And the other thing which is there is, in your business, is pretty much every company is if that's big enough, is public. Public companies have their 5-year plans laid out. I mean, they change them, but they have their plans laid out. So one of the things that you have to really do is make sure that, and which means that the buckets of funding are kind of assigned, more or less. So if you want money, you have to get money from a particular bucket. So which bucket do you align yourself with, and how do you extract money from there? Because there are other projects which are going to extract money from that particular bucket. It's another skill that you need to learn, which no one teaches you as an engineer. Now, if you are a super people's person, you figure that out. But an MBA provides you a lot more structured way to essentially align yourself with a bucket.
So another concern that I would like to share with you is, so right now I'm handling probably, not handling, but my visibility is only towards the 10% of the company's operations. I'm into strategy and planning of this 10% operations. I look after optimizing requirements, getting the best kind of technology for those operations, and all sort of looking after those operations. How will these operations be in the next 5 years that I need to plan ahead and stuff like that. But what I think is that I can do it even if I get the opportunity of looking on the company as a whole, and then sort of looking it over the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then strategizing and planning for it. I could probably want to be in that kind of a role.
That's a strategy role, as you mentioned in your response, and yeah. So an MBA won't really say. I mean, people won't just hire you for the entire company role unless and until. I mean, they might if you go to one of the top MBAs there. So what you're going for is corporate strategy essentially.
Correct, exactly my point.
Right.
So not exactly from 10% of the entire company, but gradually maybe.
Yes.
But in my current profile, I will not be moved. I will not
So,
be able to move
so the
laterally.
path to go towards that would be to I mean, there are multiple paths, frankly, but I would say the preferred path that I've seen is where people go towards doing this is where they would go from a B school to one of the management consultancies, which were and pretty much all the top ones work in this domain.
Right.
And the top management consultancies work with the Exxons, the Shells, the BPs, the ConocoPhillips, the Chevrons of the world, and then they essentially would really put you in projects which are related to corporate strategy. Once you have enough and the beauty of this is I mean, working for a management consultant in some ways working through a rotation program, but you get paid really well. I mean, if you can live with the travel, you get paid really well, and and essentially get that exposure, and then you become an asset to one of the majors, because you have exposure not just across multiple aspects of the business, but with multiple competitors too. And oil and gas, you just move within that business essentially. So good money with management consultants, bad life, good money, but tons of experience. So and lots of
What
skill
would be
building.
the other one?
The other role is you get recruited by one of these oil majors themselves, but that's a longer route, and you hope that the department that you are recruited into is a department that gets funds, or you work for someone who's higher up in the corporate chain enough that you get a similar rotation role. That's something that so I mean, um, typically what I've seen is folks from McKinsey and others would get into these recruitment roles where essentially they are like consultants to businesses within. Okay, so for example, someone who's done 4 or 5 years at McKinsey would go in and work for the CEO or Office of Technology, and would really then become a consultant to, let's say, just the exploration business or a certain part to figure out what technologies are they doing and are they implementing over there, and which one should they buy to enhance their productivity by 15%. They would do that for 5 to 6 months, and then this person also becomes not just as someone who helps the business, but he's also an unbiased auditor kind of who really reports back to the CEO, because the CEO is in some ways looking at this as a huge return for us next 2 years down the line or so. If you have these productivity improvements, you're going to have the yield improvement. If you have the yield improvement, you're going to have improved profits, which, by the way, the CEO is going to really be able to show up. So that's the other way. Those roles are I think are relatively fewer. You need to get into the top schools, make sure that, or schools where that have relationship with these companies.
Right. So one more thing before we move further. So I've been searching about our ex CEO, who's Rahul Dheer. He's also an IT Delhi graduate, and then went to Wharton for MBA. After having a few years of oil and gas engineering experience. Post MBA, he went to one of the private equity firms, I think Merrill Lynch, and he handled a lot of merger and acquisitions, particularly in the oil and gas business, for about 6 to 7 years. And that's when he switched back to the oil and gas industry as the CEO of a company. So not really sure about how this kind of a switch was this like strategized? Was it decided, or was it just his mere luck that he went to a
No,
teach
so I
and
think the key thing really is, so what the common denominator in all the discussion that we've had is the kind of experience that you have had, and what it readies you for, right? So the oil and gas company that he went for, which one is it that he became the CEO of?
our own company, Kane India?
Okay, so not a huge company again, right?
Correct. Yes.
So uh, I mean, that guy would not become a CEO of BP or Shell or any of those companies without having worked in the company itself. Okay,
Right. Right.
but because again, he's done a lot of what I call as corporate strategy work, synergies work over here. I don't know what your company is looking to do with regards to itself in the next 5 years, if it's looking to be acquired or acquire other companies. But the reason why they've probably got him on is because they need his kind of experience,
Okay, I got that.
right? I mean, it's one of the reasons. I mean, both successful and failed hirings are done this way. If you think about um, Yahoo hiring Marissa Myers from Google, they wanted someone who basically had the kind of experience or culture experience at Google, and they hired her for that, right? Similarly, Nokia 7-8 years back hiring Stephen Loeb from Microsoft. They wanted someone who had his ecosystem kind of experience, and now it was that hiring didn't work very well for them. But the reasons for the hiring is what you can really see. Similarly, I mean, Microsoft promoting Satya Nadella to become the CEO is somewhere where they looked at it and said, this is the kind of culture the kind of culture that this guy brings along is the kind of culture that we want to be, we want the company to have, or the kind of outlook. And so it's not just the kind of experience that you've had, but also what kind of outlook do you push towards. Now, for BP, Tony Hayward was their CEO when he'd taken over this as the CEO, if I remember correctly, just before the oil spill happened. And Tony Hayward he was an engineer by profession. He has a PhD, and their focus of taking Tony Hayward over, or having promoting him, was they wanted to increase the engineering acumen, about kind of promote the critical thinking culture within BP. Now, Tony Hayward did not handle the oil spill really well, so he
Correct.
was fired.
Correct. Makes
So
sense.
so then they realized we need someone who's a better corporate communicator than. So again, they didn't foresee the oil spill, and so.
So yes, you're right. I did not think it that way. But the reason of hiring a CEO could be different. Yes.
Yes. So yeah. But I mean, you have, the good thing is you have lots of options and you have a ton of aspiration, is what I can really see. So and you're someone who basically realizes where you're lacking, and then you fix that.
Yes.
So good, bright future ahead. I think with your experience, with the GMAT score, with the, you definitely get into the top B schools. And you seem to have a very definitive path towards where you want to go. A lot better than what I've seen with a lot of other people.
Oh, is it?
So
I thought the worst. I thought that I do not know what I want to do in life.
that's another thing. I think you have a definitive path. You want to lead things. You know that,
I agree. At least
right?
that I know.
That part
Yes.
you know, and you want to
That
lead it in this particular sector, is what I'm getting it from you.
yeah.
So you like the
I
sector.
do love the sector, especially with like 5 years of experience here.
Mm.
I think I would love to settle down here, probably
So that's what
long
I'm
term
saying.
as
So
well.
you know the sector, you know what you want to do. I think
Hmm.
that's a lot
Yes.
of stuff that you know.
Well, thank you. I didn't know that I know.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, how old are you? Like 24, 25, right?
26, yes.
Yeah, well, most people, that's all that you need to know at this point in time.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
Could you also throw some light on my B school collection? Sorry if I interrupted. If I think you wanted to say something.
No. So I looked at it. I mean, it was pretty much the top B schools. I would not recommend one or the other. What I would really say is look at where you want to go, the sector that you want to go, and look at the companies that recruit. Look at the list of B schools where these companies recruit from.
Okay.
Okay. And you have an intersection, from what I really kind of understand, you have an intersection of the oil and gas majors. You have the consulting firms, and then you have your private equity firms. So the school that you've really said, consulting, private equity, I think they do recruit from there very heavily. But then
Okay.
consulting and private equity, do they recruit for oil and gas sectors or not? Maybe not as big a deal because of the past experience. Okay. But
Agreed.
I don't
Yeah.
know if oil and gas majors recruit from there in that heavy a capacity for those roles. So I think that's where LinkedIn is an amazing resource where you can really see where the schools recruit from, and so on and so forth. And also you can research schools. One of the things that this could lead to is it could help you personalize your application, number one, I think. Second thing is it might allow you to apply to a school that is slightly lower ranked but would rather give you a full fellowship
Okay.
and would still serve your purpose.
Could you give me an example of such a school who could probably give me a better fellowship?
I mean, in general, the rule of thumb really is that if you have an amazing GMAT score, and if you're applying to a school, and the fact that you're a girl helps. Uh, so if you're applying to a school where the average GMAT, for example, is 700, and you're applying with a 770 as an IITD graduate, being a girl, I mean, those schools will give you a pretty hefty scholarship.
Got it.
So and again, I mean, work with a decent admission consultant to make sure you have a solid application. And I mean, you've done all the right things. So that's one piece that don't compromise on that. And I'm pretty certain you'd get a really good fellowship.
Thank you very much. That is
Uh,
very motivating
no,
actually.
I mean, you've all the right ingredients, and try Applicant Lab. It's a tool. That can help you write your own application. It's
Already
a
bought it.
You
Yes.
already bought it. Okay, good, perfect. So
Could you also
how's that? Huh?
could you also suggest me some consultants if
So so there are a bunch of them on Ajax. So our students have worked with my essay review. So they've done that, but I'm sure there are lots and lots of good consultants who are there. You can so Poonam at my essay review, she's one of the top 5 consultants on GMAT Club. Okay.
okay.
You can also purchase Maria's time from Applicant Lab.
Right.
So that's another option as well. You can write to her. There are a couple of others as well that I could recommend, but I would say talk to consultants and really see what you have to feel comfortable working with a consultant. The good thing
Right.
is you purchase Applicant Lab, you have a head start on things, and so
Yes.
you already know what to submit to consultants to really get their initial feedback on things. I think you have a lot
Okay.
defined, to be very frank. I think you're giving yourself less credit than you deserve. So, so yeah, just stay focused the way you have, and yeah, just.
I think your words are very motivating. In some way, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I look for good people, and I talk to a lot of folks, and I can really tell you, if you were interested in the education sector, I would hire you in a heartbeat. So.
Okay. That's a big compliment. Thank you very much.
So so
Very
yeah.
nice.
So 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 yeah. You have that methodical approach, and I'm sure you do well. So I think, in my opinion, having been in the professional world for a good 15, 16 years now, I guess a skill is overrated. Diligence is underrated. You're diligent. You're sharp, and you have the ability to self-correct yourself. From what I've seen, the way you've gone through this journey. Are you
Yes.
the most efficient always? No, based on the interview that I can really say. But the fact is, you have the ability to self-correct yourself, which is what matters in the end. And
Okay.
frankly, what this business school will add to you, one of the biggest things is the efficiency piece.
Mm.
So And it does. It did to me. I can really tell you that.
As well.
Yeah. So the fact that you are off from not studying anything with regards to technical aspect and not working at a job and thinking about things and executing on them is I think it's one of the biggest benefits that a business school brings about to you. The
Right,
fact that you
right,
are in that isolated, pristine environment where you think
right,
about these things.
right,
So
right.
that's why they say you learn a lot from the people around you, because it's who they shape. They are the ones who shape your thoughts.
Right.
So anyhow, I think I have another appointment that I need to go to. So
I should really thank you for your time. You've given me a lot of time, and really thank you. It would really help, not just motivate, but also help in my content and everything. Thank you
well,
so much for that.
you're welcome. Do send me the patent examples, please. That
Definitely.
one I definitely would look forward to.
All right.
All right, Mansi. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.